Welcome everybody to Seasonal Cooking, eating what our ancestors ate when they ate it, like we were evolved to do. Today we are making an omelette. The reason omelets are so great for the seasonal diet is it is something that our ancestors would have had access to pretty much the whole year round. You have eggs, which would have come from chicken, and then you have the cheese, which would have come from the cows. And ancestors have domesticated both of these animals, at least in Europe, where most of you watching have ancestry. So these are two ingredients that are available year-round pretty much. So that is what we are making, and I will be making lots of different recipes at different times of year for omelets. The only difference is the ingredients that we put in the omelets, so let's check this out. So first we've got the steak. Now steaks, we eat way too much of this way too often at different times of year in the modern day, but the reality is for ancient humans, cattle and red meat was traditionally something only really done in the fall, the harvest time. This is why beef is in a lot of these fall recipes. They could have dried the steak, of course, and kept it later on in the winter, but beef was really not something that was eaten throughout the year, and that's simply because of the fact that you don't really want to be slaughtering your cattle in the summer, because that's very valuable food in the winter, and you don't really want to be keeping a lot of your cattle alive during the winter because they take a lot of resources relative to other animals. So winter meats are going to be more of the porks and the goats and things like that, animals that are low maintenance. But this time of year, fresh red meat is a great thing, and of course, depending on where you're from, ancestors could have had the red meat from wild hunted game too, but from beef, it's pretty much only now in these couple months around the fall that fresh red meat was eaten by our ancestors. So this is the first thing that we're doing. The butter is already in the pan, of course, that's in season all year round. You know how to make that. Then in goes the steaks first. While that cooks, we will get the mushrooms ready. Mushrooms also perfect season at this time of year. Depending on where you're from, in certain climates, mushrooms can come out in the spring too, but they're traditionally in top season in the fall, pretty much anywhere where there are seasons in the world. So these are a very, very valuable and nutritious and good ingredient to put in omelets anyway, so that's what we're doing here. Now you can chop these up into smaller pieces if you want and put them in the omelet towards the end, but I like to put them in now. I just think it tastes a lot better if the mushrooms are smothered down a little bit. So in they go with the steak. I will put a little salt and pepper, and hell with it. While that is getting ready, we will mix up the eggs for the omelet. And like I said earlier, eggs, if our ancestors had access to chickens, they could have had these any time of year. Chickens reduce the number of eggs they lay and sometimes even stop the number of eggs that they lay towards the winter, but you could always find wild eggs if you needed to. So our ancestors have always had a long tradition of that, but you may just have to throw the children up into the trees to go hunt some of those eggs. Where's a 5-egg omelet? 5 egg, yeah, fuck it, we'll say 6. A little cream, you don't have to, it just gives it a little extra fluff if you like that. Cream comes from milk, and of course, season all year round. Then it comes the onion. Onion comes from the east. It could be up to 7,000 years BC actually that the onions have been cultivated. So it is native to Asia, but it has been in Europe for at least 2,000 years. We have records of that, and onions are, depending again on the climate, they can be in good season through different parts of the year, but they are in top season now in the autumn. So the onion is an important addition. Now, if you want the onion, you can throw in the pan now to fry with the steak and mushrooms. I like onions a little bit raw, or as close to raw as possible though, so I'm gonna put this in at the very end. What you can also choose to do you can put the eggs in there now with the meat and the mushrooms, but I like the outer layer of the omelet to have a little kind of protective shell, so I throw the eggs in first and then put everything else inside. Also do, if you want to be a wimp, is you can take out all the juices and the fats, but hey, I'm not any diet. As a matter of fact, I am trying to fatten up for the winter, so in it goes with everything all together. Once you leave that for about 30 seconds, not much more, then you can take it off and start putting the other things in. And I like to try and keep all the ingredients to the omelet to 1/2 of it, because that's just gonna make the flip easier. Then in goes the cheese. I'm using pepper jack. The spices in there are not exactly part of my ancestral diet. I don't have any ancestors from anywhere else other than the north of Europe, so we don't have too much spice in our life up there, but I like it, so what the hell, and they are in good season now, these jalapenos and chilies. You will just find them in other places in the world. Oh, this is gonna be massive. So this is really a huge omelet, and I don't recommend people eating one this big. It's just what I do, especially because I've been fasting all day. And when you think about it, this is how humans would have eaten in their harvest festival time. It's a festival, it's a party. The summertime is the time for snacking, picking on fruits, picking on stuff, eating all day. But ancestors in the harvest time, they would have been largely not eating much in the day and having big feasts at night. On goes the lid. Very important. I screwed this up for many years, but when you put the lid on, it just makes the whole omelet fluffier and better. And then we wait until it's time for the flip. Oh, I'm gonna screw this all up. This one didn't go too smoothly. That's not so bad. That is not too bad, actually. And if you like, you can try to give it one more flip. Let's see if I can do this without messing it all up. So I messed that up. That is going to look more like a scramble than an omelet, but that's okay. Because, like everything, it goes in the same hole and out the same hole. And that's what matters when it comes to the seasonal and ancestral diet. Did our ancestors actually make omelets like this? I don't know, but I don't care if they had an onion earlier in the day, some cheese earlier in the day, and some eggs for breakfast and some steak for dinner. I don't care. It goes down the same hole. It's all in the ancestral diet, so omelets are therefore in our ancestral diet. And there you have it. It doesn't look too pretty, but that's okay. If you couldn't tell by now, I am not a chef, I am a caveman. That's why I don't open a restaurant. I don't think it would do too well, but I can teach you how to cook in the ways that our ancestor would have done at the right time of year, and it's gonna taste good either way. But that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed.